Okay, hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are officially back with the podcast. In January, I was having a few technical difficulties, and apparently my computer really didn't want me to record these podcasts, but we're back in action, ready to roll, and I'm really looking forward to some awesome content for 2022. So I thought, kicking things off, for the return of the podcast, probably a really good place to start, considering it's now sort of the start of February, is really to have a bit of a check-in in regards to, how your year is going. Now, what I mean by that is, pretty much everyone at the start of a year will go through some type of goal setting process. Some people will maybe do a massive New Year's resolution and say, look, I want to give up smoking, or I want to make this dramatic change in my life, whatever it may be. Lots of us may not be that dramatic, but they might be like, you know what, this year I do want to take control of my fitness, or this year I want to, aim towards this big adventure, or this year, I want to make a bit of a change here. And we all probably go through it, or at least most of us do. But, as we all well and know, these things, these good intentions that start out at the end of the year, the start of the year, I should say, more often than not, they tend to not go so well over the year. And we do drop off them pretty quickly once that first rush of, excitement, of motivation begins to disappear. As life gets busy again, as other things creep up, it tends to drop off. So I really do think at the start of February, it's actually a really good time just to sort of check in with yourself and just sort of see how things are going. Are you on the track that you wanted? Were the goals that you set previously realistic? And do you need to make any adjustments to sort of get you back on track? Or even better is to make sure you are aiming towards things that you actually want to do. So when you sit at the, January next year, you can sort of say, look, those goals are a waste of time. But these are actually something that I wanted to do. Now, for example, to give a bit of an example in that situation is, for me, back in 2020, end of 2020, me and Ali, my fiance, we sat down, did a bunch of goal setting. Now, there's a whole bunch in there, but one of the goals that I'd set just randomly was I wanted to be able to run around the lake, which is right outdoors our house. And it's about a 10-kilometer trail. And I was like, you know what? I actually want to be able to run around that pretty comfortably. And for me, I hate running. I used to be a runner, but I cannot stand it anymore. And the whole of last year, I think I probably did one run for the entire year. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not for me. And then I got to, the end of last year and I was looking over these goals that we'd set, and I was like, why did I set that goal? I was never going to do it. It was never part of my agenda. I don't know why I wrote it down, but it was a bit disappointing because it was there and I just didn't make an effort. So it can be good to check in on that as well and see, what, are these things you actually want to aim for? So for me, I had to sit down a couple of days ago and I sort of reassessed, all right, how am I going on my goal setting? And I'd set 3 really simple goals that I wanted to aim towards, and a few other bits and pieces, but 3 I'm going to talk about today. Number 1, in regards to my training, is I said, look, this year, consistently, over the next 12 months, I want to be training 3 times a week. Now, I know there's going to be loads of things coming up this year. I'm getting married, I'm going on holidays, and yada. I know on those periods that 3 times a week isn't going to happen. So occasionally I'll be doing 4, occasionally I'll be 5, but I want to aim as a minimum 3 times a week on average through the year. Another goal that I'd set was like, once a week I want me and Ali to sit down and have dinner where we don't actually, not watching TV or Netflix or whatever it may be, literally just sit at the table and have a chat, which, for some people that might sound, that's pretty basic, but for me, it was actually a big deal. And that's something I wanted to do. And a third one was, one of my big goals this week is to do lots of riding, this year I should say, lots of riding, which isn't related to hiking and training. So I do lots and lots of riding on those subjects, but I want to write something, that's not related to those things. And I want to do something like that every day. So I sat down the other day and I was like, you know what? I'm actually on track for each of those things. Once a week, we've sat down and had dinner without any screens. 3 times a week on average, I've been training. And I've also been riding most days. So for me, pat on the back, I was like, you know what? On the track, everything's going smoothly. Let's just keep this rolling. And for some people listening to this, you may be in a similar situation. You may be like, you know what? These goals that I've set myself, these things that I'm working through, I'm doing them. And in that case, happy days, keep it rolling. But if you are assessing yourself and you're like, you know what? These goals, they're not going well. For whatever reason, maybe I'm just not doing them. There's a couple of different things I might recommend in that situation. Number one, if they're goals that you really, really do want to do, and you still think they're realistic, but just something's come up in January to get in the way, maybe use this as the start of February as a kickstart just to make it happen. Start today, whatever it may be, take a step to get it moving forward and put your head down and see if you can make it happen over this next month and then reassess at the end of the month. Alternatively, if you're sort of sitting there and you're looking at these goals and you're like, you know what, I said I wanted to train every single day. And I've realized that's just not realistic. That's not going to fit into my life. It was great the first couple of weeks of January, but it's not realistic for me. Then now's the time to reassess these goals and say, okay, maybe I can't train 7 days a week. Maybe I want to aim for 4 or 3 and use that as a baseline and go with that. Or maybe you said, hey, I want to do the 52 hike challenge this year and I want to hike somewhere every single week. And maybe you've realized, look, that's maybe not super realistic. So maybe you just need to adjust that goal to 20 hikes or 26 hikes or something like that. But whatever it may be, now is the time to reassess and really check in where you're at. If all is going well, keep on the right track, keep it moving, keep it going. If the goals aren't going so well, reassess, readjust. And if you look at the goals and you're like, why did I set them? I've got no interest in those in all honesty. Maybe now's the time to sort of sit down and be honest with yourself. Maybe set some other things you want to aim for the year. But at the start of Feb, a month into the year, it's a good idea to do this. It won't take you long, 5-10 minutes. Just get a quiet space, a pen and paper, and really, really think through these things. And it can serve you very, very well over the next 4 weeks, but also over the next 11 months as well. So a little bit of food for thought there. I highly recommend you go through that, and I think it can be very, very beneficial. But aside from that, as I kind of said at the start of the episode, we're back in action with these podcasts for this year, hopefully coming to you 2 times a week for the rest of the year with no more hiccups. Fingers crossed. So for all the listeners who are back in action, great to have you listening. I hope you've enjoyed this little taster to start off February. I hope that helps, and we will talk to you very, very soon. Take it easy. Bye.